Okay, I need to put a warning on this episode. Vegetarians and vegans, probably best you switch across to the radio now. But carnivores, sit tight, because today's guest, Dan from Carnivore, just made crowdfunding very, very tasty.
I said, welcome to a small business marketing show, where successful small business owners share their souls to take your marketing straight to the lead. Now, here's your host, Mr. Timbo Reid.
And welcome back, listeners, to another episode of Australia's #1 marketing show. I'm your host, Timbo Reid. But you, so much more importantly, you're a motivated business owner. And you are ready to crank out some great marketing to build that beautiful baby of yours into the empire it deserves to be. Hey, welcome. If it's your first time, stick with us. It's a bit of a weird show, but it's fun. If you've come back for the 110th time, love your work. You must be benefiting from it. Big episode today. Now, I probably shouldn't have suggested vegetarians not to listen, as the fireside chat I have coming up is full of not only marketing gems, but business gems as well. It's with Dan Tarasenko from Carnivore, whose very young business is taking off in more ways than one. I got some feedback from a very naughty listener. Very naughty. Well, at least his business is. And I'll share something with you that will help you live an inspired life. Now, today's show made possible thanks to the very, very good folk at Net Registry who can get all your online marketing sorted. Check them out over at netregistry.com.au/Timbo, and Aussie-owned and operated designcrowd.com, who give you a perfect custom design every time, guaranteed. Grab a VIP listener discount over at designcrowd.com/Timbo. As per usual, team, there is marketing GOLD dripping from the ceiling over here at Small Business Big Marketing's HQ. So let's get stuck right in. Hey, a very, very big thanks to friend of the show, past guest, marketing specialist extraordinaire Amanda Stevens for suggesting today's guest. Thanks, Steve-O. Now, his name is Dan Tarasenko, and he, along with his business partner, Zach, have recently launched Carnivore. Have you heard about it? It's been all over the media. Basically, it allows you to crowdsource beef or lamb direct from the farmer, cutting out the big guys, hey? He likes that. He's a bit passionate about that. It's going gangbusters, both in customer take-up, farmer take-up, and the media coverage that it's getting. Great learning, good ideas always get talked about. I think you're going to love Dan. He's made a career change that sees him loving what he's doing. He's embraced the new world of crowdsourcing, which is absolutely amazing. I encourage you to go and have a look more into that at some of the crowdsourcing websites. And he's big on listening to his heart when making decisions. It's certainly worked for Carnivore so far. So, we started off by talking about where we'd all like to end up, living in a place we love, doing what we love.
Both Zach and I live in the Bega Valley, and it's beautiful. We've got some of the best farmland and produce around. And we met working on another startup of mine a couple of years ago, and we've just been thinking about what to do sort of together since. And for the longest time, we've wanted to just sell the produce that's available in this area and get it into like Sydney and Melbourne markets who appreciate it but don't really know how to connect with a farmer. Yeah. And the crowdfunding side of things comes in because a cow's pretty big. It's not going to fit in your freezer. No. And so we need
to. There are some big freezers these days, so that could be your greatest threat: is the large freezer.
We might have to sort of do launch a spin-off and then sell chest freezers. So like the box, to buy a quarter or half of a cow from a farmer, which is sort of the minimum that they really want to be dealing with, is quite difficult for most people. You can't just go and take a T-bone out of a cow in the paddock. You need to sell the whole thing. And we thought, well, crowdfunding's all the rage. Why don't we just essentially develop this as a platform and allow, in the case of a cow, 12 people to get together and pledge, and when that's all sold, they get their meat. The farmer gets his order, so he can, he knows that the whole thing's sold. He doesn't have to try and find secondary markets for the less desirable cuts, and everyone wins.
As you're explaining it, and I've had a look around the Crowd Carnivore website today, which I love, and I'll talk about more in a minute, but This is what we were doing 200 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's so, like everything goes, comes around in circles
again. All circles. I say to my kids, like, Dad, why are you listening to Spandau Ballet? You wait, it'll come back.
Exactly. Exactly. The irony is that 100 years ago, 200 years ago, it was a village getting together, and they'd sort of process the animal together and share in the whole thing. And quite often it was a big event. Like everyone was involved, everyone had jobs to do, and the kids would be around, probably getting in the way, and it became like a social thing. And that's something that we've really tried to tap into, is just the whole social side of this. You don't get your box unless 11 other people make pledges. So you got to share this with your friends. You have to let everyone know and become part of it, and just connect back to where your food's coming from. And
I've watched the video. I've watched so much stuff of yours, mate. A beautiful brand. And what I love about the whole pledge thing, there's so much emotion attached to what you're doing, because I watched this farmer talking about it, and he says, the idea of a parcel of meat rolling up that actually comes from Kevin the farmer, and not from one of either the red or the green big supermarket chain, right?
Yeah, and exactly.
That's powerful stuff. And knowing that you have gone in to this beast with another 6 or 12 or however many it is, I think is powerful. Just going a little bit further detail so listeners understand. So we're crowdsourcing meat from one beast at a time, either a cow or a sheep. And what I love is you simply sign up at the website, which is the simplest, most elegant sign-up process I've ever been through.
Awesome.
And then you just drop in your postcode or your zip code, as our American friends, as Zach would say.
Yeah.
Hey, zip code. What's zip? It's not a zip.
Yeah. It's a crazy name for it.
Anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
And then it comes up with the farmers close to you that would be happy to send you meat.
Yeah, it is that simple.
Do you love it when you say that?
We thought we were onto something when we first sort of started talking about it, just because we just couldn't figure out why no one else was doing it. We thought this actually is really simple, because the farmer is desperate for people to hear their story. Like I was on some other media, I can't remember who, but doesn't
matter. You're on this one now.
Yeah, on this one now. The farmer is blamed from everything to causing cancer, to destroying the environment, to causing climate change. Like it's not easy being a farmer, right? Like there's not many tougher jobs, and for them,
I don't reckon there's a tougher job.
Podcaster.
Well, podcast is pretty hard, yeah.
So basically so they literally are desperate for people to actually know what it's like for them, and to have not only people who are interested in their day to day, but so interested that they're willing to part with cash to buy number 232 in the paddock is just such a phenomenal just like it's good for their soul. And we've had probably 120, maybe 130 farmers now contact us and fill out our producer inquiry form, just so desperate just to be part of us. And obviously we want to try to get to everyone, but it'll be sales dependent, of course. But
I love the way the farmers are. I've just keyed in my postcode. Curra Farm Lamb has popped up, and they get to say there's one box left, 15 days left in order to buy that box. It gives the price, $199 for 10 kilograms, $4 a meal. And then he has this wonderful description. We're 2 hours west of Melbourne in the Yarrapura district. He talks about 60 years, generation of farming, farming family, how he improves his pastures through clover and fresh and ryegrass. Like, it's beautiful, mate. It's storytelling, and like,
it absolutely is. Like, you have no idea. You know, Zach's the more the creative side, and I actually moved to the country to try and, you know, just be a bit more closer to farming, and I quite. Some would say very crazy. I actually just took delivery of 500 chickens for my own free-range egg business, so I couldn't put them on hold. They were coming when we launched, so we're sort of managing a couple of different things right now. But like, we just love farming, and the farmers we talk to, like, they're not simple people. Like, they are quite often they're highly educated. They're there by choice. Like, they're very capable of certainly earning a lot more money and a lot easier money than what they do, but they're there by choice, and they have to innovate. They have to be, constantly just, learning and what have you, just to, just to sort of stay in the game and sort of stay profitable, I guess. And every single farmer we talk to just has amazing stories, and the people love it. Like, everyone pretty much reads a farmer bio. They buy from that farmer.
Oh, where would we be without those wonderful farmers? Chances are, if you are sitting in front of something to eat right now, it has found its way from a farm somewhere in the world. Hey, more on Dan and the farmers in a minute, but first, a message from a couple of companies that want to help build that beautiful business of yours into an empire. Yeah, empire. The Small Business Big Marketing Show is also grateful for the support of Aussie-owned business DesignCrowd.com, the world's #1 custom design marketplace where it's beautifully simple and cheap. I love cheap. To get a design you love, guaranteed. I asked founder Alec Lynch what problems Design Crowd solved for us small business owners.
Buying design has traditionally been an expensive process, a slow process, and a risky process. Design Crowd's crowdsourcing solution fixes those problems.
DesignCrowd.com, a faster, cheaper, more creative way to get a custom logo, graphic, or print design for your business. For a special VIP offer that can save you up to $100 on your first design, visit designcrowd.com/Timbo.
Get on Timbo's mailing list over at smallbusinessbigmarketing.com.
Support for this show comes from Net Registry. Recently, I was Skyping it up with Verity Ma, their Chief Marketing Officer, when the line deteriorated. She thought it may be because she had loads of browsers open. At which point I'm like, why so many browsers?
Well, because websites appear differently on different browsers. So if I run multiple, then I can get a sense of how our websites are tracking across different browsers and customers' websites.
Net Registry, where attention to detail rules. Visit netregistry.com.au/Timbo for a website that works on, well, all browsers. And now let's head back to Dan, who's about to tell us what he was doing before starting to crowdsource meat.
My background's in real estate and real estate tech from an online perspective, and
Really?
You caught that. I definitely was looking for something into farming, but what we were trying to do is actually develop a crowdfunding platform to help farmers access capital. So, a farmer wants to buy a mob of cows and people can get together and partner and just to take some pressure off, because the banks don't have any love. Yeah, so it definitely was. And he's like, well, how about we just start with crowdfunding the cow? Is there anyone doing that? And I was, lost for words. It's so simple and absolutely, right? Like, that's exactly what we're going to do. And we did a few very quiet local trials with some, just some Facebook sharing and things like that, just so that we could, if there was a problem, we could jump on it, and everyone loved it. That was what led to the SBS sort of catching on about us.
Well, we'll talk about that. SBS overseas listeners being a wonderful some TV exposure that the boys got recently. Was there a specific time where you've just gone, bloody ripper, here we go?
I'm going to say, I think from memory, we were driving back from Canberra, so it's about 3 hours away, and we were probably there on very boring real estate related business, and we were coming home and just chatting about what we could sort of do together. And like I keep pushing farming because I know there's just so much that they can offer, and we being the tech guys and the sort of marketing guys can bring, there's synergy there, right? And we were talking about, like I said, the equity thing and all this, and it's just like, well, let's just simplify it. Let's just do this. So it was pretty much, I'm sure we're coming back from Canberra.
And were you both in full-time employment at this point in time?
Definitely. So I was, I was doing a real estate consulting job last year for a crowdfunding startup. He's working for a Melbourne-based company doing sort of website and creative sales and things like that. So
yeah, right. How fascinating, because you've still, what I love, I mean, obviously it's working for you both because you've still got the tech side of it. I mean, this is an online business that needs to have a fantastic user interface and all that stuff that goes with having a website that actually converts. Yep. But it's also sort of a directory business where you've got users and you've got advertisers, if you like, the farmers being the advertisers. So how do you go about pulling together a business like this? Because it's sort of chicken or the egg. Excuse the pun. Hey? Right? You with me there? See what I did?
Dad jokes, right? That's it. So, unreal. Well, exactly. Yeah, the when we first started, talking about it, and we better go on and sort of start chatting to some local farmers. We knew a few, and we sort of got introduced to a couple more that were a good fit, and one in particular is Bryce Garnock. Now he's been on the land his entire life.
How's he talk?
Yeah, he's fantastic though. Like he's very probably two-word sentences until you get to know him a bit more. But typical farmer. But I'm sure he looked at us, and Zach would have rocked up in thongs and like he does, and he's probably looked at us and just went, "Who are these clowns?" and as if they're going to sell anything and all that sort of stuff. But
for my American audience, and I know we keep referencing them, but you just suggested Zach rolled up in a pair of very brief underwear. But I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I better be. I'll try to be a bit more careful. I'm sure I'll make a few more of these before it ends. So like so getting the farmers on board was I'm not going to say difficult, but there's certainly apprehension there. Like they've probably heard it all before, but the customers were just like we've probably got a database of nearly 3,000 people of just people who are desperate to buy, and we're just struggling to get to them fast enough. So we've
let me understand that. So that's is that me? I've just signed up for Carnivore. I'm a customer, and you're saying, okay, so like in my area there were 3 farmers, but you're saying there's some customers in that 3,000 who you just can't service because there's not a farmer near there.
No, we just haven't been able to join the dots. So take Southeast Queensland for an example. Probably as many people in Queensland have signed up to our platform as they have in Melbourne or Victoria and New South Wales combined. Like the Queenslanders are so passionate about just trying to support their local farmers. So we to onboard a region, we need to start connecting a lot of dots. So we got to get a courier company who's crazy enough to work with us, and they need to do their job. One or two butchers, exactly right, and then we've got to talk to the farmers. So, how
do you do that? Because are you and Zach going out to each farm?
Pretty much. So we're on the road next week, meeting everyone that we've onboarded in Victoria.
So you're onboarding them first. Sorry, I'm really keen to understand the micro of this because I think it's interesting to everyone to understand how you get a client, essentially a seller in this case, on board. Are you ringing them first and kind of cold calling and going, hey, listen, you probably haven't heard of us and you have no idea what crowdfunding is. And by the way, Mr. Farmer, there's a thing called the internet. It might not have come to your area yet, but it's taking off in the bigger cities. Is this the conversation you're having?
No, we're fortunate enough. This is why when you sort of ask us what our secret sauce is, we are very fortunate enough to have these guys are coming to us. So we've got a database of they've heard about us on Facebook and through SBS and any of the we've had probably dozens of articles in various papers and stuff like that. So they're coming to us because a lot of them are actually quite conscious of direct marketing, and they are starting to get online and fill that space out. So we're quite fortunate in that we have a huge database of people to call upon. So we'll go through it and say, okay, this guy doesn't have enough, or we don't like that part of it. So we can actually be quite picky, and we need to be. So we need to make sure only only the best get on the platform, because we are still positioning ourselves as somewhat of a premium brand. Like if you're buying from us, you're not getting Woolworths meat or Coles meat. You're getting a someone who's long term invested in the quality of what they do. And so we're very strict on who we deal with, but we are fortunate to, like I said, we've got sort of 130 different producers who are desperate to or who've inquired to be on our platform.
So, Dan, there was a point in time Crowd Carnivore was launched, but you hadn't had the media. So the media that you're getting, which is fantastic, and I want to understand that a bit more shortly, is wonderful. And the farmers are self-identifying. They're putting their hand up and saying, "I want to be part of that." But what about that gap when you had no media but Crowd Carnivore had launched? How did you get the momentum?
So what we had to do was to onboard the farmers, and so we were working with some existing relationships. And to our initial hopes or plans for Crowd Carnivore was, look, if we can sell 1 cow a month and a few lambs, and a bit local, a bit into Sydney, and we'd be quite happy with that. Like, we have to say, our we thought we might get a bit of buzz for the novelty, but we really had humble projections at the start. We were just happy to be working together and doing something for farmers locally. So we started with the Facebook hustle, just lots of shares, groups, just really explaining what we're trying to do. We're bootstrappers, right? Like, so you got to try and find everything that you can do for free. And
is it a Blundstone boot or an RM?
Yeah,
Okay.
I couldn't tell you. Definitely can't make money for RMs yet, but I'll work my way up to a pair hopefully one day. But
you're an RM bloke in a Blundstone boot.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So I'll splurge one day and treat myself. But so you got to do that hustle. You have to Facebook. You start blogging. You just sort of try and get yourself out there and watch the traffic numbers hopefully increase. Mm-hmm. But by putting ourselves out there, it was just a bit of luck. Like you put yourself out there and hopefully you find some serendipity and away you go.
Tell me then, you have had some incredible media coverage, I guess culminating right now in that wonderful expose SBS did. Again, listeners, SBS is one of the main channels in Australia, free-to-air TV channels. How has this come about? Did you get one? What was the bit of coverage that led to the next? Can you kind of map it?
Well, we're in sort of some local papers that were just happy to do sort of stories on us. So it was very, very small and very slow. We were fortunate enough to have a customer as part of our little beta trials that we were doing. Get a box of meat. Who her daughter was an SBS producer, so she's gotten this box of meat, and her daughter just happened to be down visiting, just visiting mum, and right at the time they were there, she's gotten this box of meat, they've eaten it, it's just exploded. Like, she's so excited about it because she's getting to buy local and all of that sort of stuff. And the SBS producer Rani was just, this is an amazing sort of story and concept, and so she started a conversation with us, and once we told her about it and about some of the farmers that we're dealing with and their stories, she was just,
You're away. I wouldn't underestimate, and that's amazing. And clearly, that's obviously how SBS came about. But you mentioned, a couple of little articles in the local paper. I have had past guest Sam Elam, she owns a business called Media Manoeuvres, and she helps businesses like yours get earned media. And one of her key plays is to get an article in the local paper, because they're the easier articles to get, arguably. But the journos from the radio producers and the TV producers and the journos from the bigger publications are reading those little local papers?
Absolutely. And those journos have contacts to their bigger city counterparts.
Correct.
So, definitely don't ignore, any bit of press that you can get your hands on. And for us, it was great because, they actually took probably the best profile shot of both Zach and I at the time. So our little local paper was has just been, he started it all. Alistair was the journo that did the story on us, and he just had such a good write up and sort of shared it with his city folk and then our city counterparts, and then when the SBS thing happened, it was, I've heard of these guys. And then they were able to go back and go, yeah, okay, we have to do a story. And, next thing you know, we're in Sydney Morning Herald and various other papers, and away we go.
Now, Dan, I want to raise the, not the elephant in the room, but the cow in the room. Can I do that?
Go for it.
Are you happy with the name?
Yeah, we
Carnivore.
Yeah, I definitely am. We needed a name that was, there's a couple of aspects to it. So one, we really want to push the buzz around crowdfunding. In 3 or 5 years' time, it might be something else, but essentially it's a group buy platform with the social connectivity of it. So like, we really like the crowdfunding side of things. Carnivore is, if I could eat meat all day long, that's all I'd eat, right? So like, we literally are the quintessential carnivore.
What's your favourite cut?
Oh, look, we're big into a lot of the secondary cuts. I'm lucky. I've got a lovely partner that does slow cooked ossobuco and things like that.
Kidding, aren't you?
Yeah,
So
in the winter, yeah,
fall apart, tender.
Exactly right. Yeah, all those things that a lot of people unfortunately don't know about, and they're the best. So
no, I had you as a ribeye kind of guy.
No, look, I'm not going to turn it down, but it is coming into winter, and there's nothing better than the slow cooker going. So
this crowdfunding thing, it's interesting. Like, I look at Uber, right, and there's no reason why there couldn't be. Now that Uber have got that kind of technology and platform nailed, there's no reason why there couldn't be Uber Plumber or Uber Courier, right?
Exactly.
Are you kind of thinking like that with crowd carnivore, crowd, what's next? Or
I'd be letting. It's only because
there's no one listening to this, by the way,
right? Yeah. So like, we've wanted to get to this day. So we are. There's a couple of aspects of where we're going to take this business. The first one, Zach would really like to jump on his crowd sellers. So we would like to connect with, say, medium winemakers they've quite often they've got some surplus stock, or they don't want to push it onto the clean skin market where they'll get $1 a bottle. They still want to protect their brand, and we can sort of come in with our platform and say, look, you give us a pallet load of casks, we can whack a small margin on top and give you an avenue to sell what is really good produce that doesn't erode their brand and what have you. So that like we both like meat and wine, so that's basically the two vices taken care of.
Perfect.
And the other thing we're trying to do is develop some software widgets, plugins, that sort of thing, to really allow other people to use our crowdfunding tech for their own ventures. I met a organic market gardener a couple of weeks ago, and the first thing he said to me was, this guy's got a shovel in his hand at the time. He's like, you got a widget for your website or for my website? And I'm like, what do you know about widgets? But he's already thinking that if he, with the crowdfunding option on his website, he can open new markets. So he might have someone an hour away that wants to buy a box of veg, but he's not going to go there for one box, but he might go there for 10 or 12 or something like that. So he can develop his own campaigns, and when there's enough, away he goes. So we're looking to enable and empower a lot of different businesses in this space with this technology.
Well, I've just gone and registered crowd sellers as you're talking. So look, 10 grand. Just call it 10. I don't need 100. No, I haven't, but I'd suggest.
Jeez, I was going to go to 20, but yeah, no, we actually have crowd sellers, and there's a few other ones in the pipeline. I'm sure if you searched our ABN, you'd come up with some of our plans. But yeah, so we definitely there's so much opportunity that we're hoping to capitalise on.
Mate, do you feel alive?
I certainly get out of bed well in the morning. Like it is great. We were being interviewed on another show with Amanda on the
Amanda Stevens.
Yeah, so she was lovely, and she sort of said, "Look, you guys have got a lot of eyes on you right now. How you're handling it and all this sort of stuff."
She loves you guys.
Oh, awesome! Yeah, no, it was actually a lot of fun doing that, and we just said,
much fun. Which was more fun? Hang on, before you go on, it was more fun, hers or my show?
Oh, of course, yours. But I'm hoping she's not listening. If she asks,
I'm going to send it to her.
At the end of the day, we're happy we put ourselves out there, and if something comes of it, startups are risky. 9 out of 10 will fail, probably 99 out of 100 will fail. We're hoping to sort of capitalize on some of this goodwill and make this into a viable long-term venture. But at the end of the day, we've put so far nearly 300 boxes of meat in good customers' homes, and we love it. So it's everything's up from here.
You are working on an investor pitch now, yeah? So you want to sell? You're going to sell part of the business? What's happening there?
Because we've definitely got something. Like, we're tapping into what is a huge online market. I mean, online groceries in Australia is well over $2 billion this year. Like, it's a huge market, and when you add to that the provenance, the farmers, all that sort of stuff, like we definitely think we're onto something really good here. So, but we're two people. Well, it's Zach and I plus my partner who's running this, and we're our ability to be able to expand and grow, fast enough to sort of meet the demand and all of that is we're tight. It's not. I'm not going to complain to your listeners. Pretty much every single one is like this, but if we can find a favourable investor who gets it and can help us grow a bit quicker, and there's a good relationship there. We'd be crazy to.
I've had a few, and it's actually not my favourite show, and I'm not suggesting you do it, but I've had a few guests who have been on Shark Tank, and you would just be a Monty for it. But what I do know is that you go on there. If one of the sharks bites and you end up going, hopping into bed with them, great. But the exposure alone is worth $1 million. Have you considered something like that?
I have a very good friend of mine who's he's been chasing me for 6 months. Put your hand, your hat in the ring for that one, right? Like I'm not sure what I must confess, I don't have a lot of time for TV when you're trying to launch a startup, so I'm not sure. The press would be amazing, and but it is a Shark Tank, and they are sort of serious about numbers, so I'd want to make sure that I had my my I's dotted and T's crossed before we had a crack at that, because all emotion aside, this still has to have business fundamentals underpinning.
Mate, you're early days, but I guess the reason I was interested in having a chat to you, and others have been, is that it's not new, but it is. They were doing it a couple of 100 years ago. It's now on. They didn't have the internet a couple of 100 years ago, from what I understand, and it is now online.
I wasn't there. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Correct. We'll stand to be corrected. Love it. Crowdcarnivore.com.au is where you can go and register. Even if you just wanted to see a beautifully elegant registration process and interface, that would be worthwhile. And maybe you want to buy some meat at the same time, then you do that. Hey, Danny, on Twitter.
So it's just Crowd Carnivore on Twitter, and same Facebook. Just search us, you'll find us.
Love it, buddy.
And
mate, I
get
wish
in touch.
You all the success in the future, and I'd love to connect in a year's time when you've really got all 4 feet on the ground. See what I did there?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Dan.
More dad jokes. Give you a year to practice. Thanks, Tim. Talk to you soon. See ya.
You got to love a dad joke. That is Dan Tarasenko. Crowdcarnivore.com.au is where you will find him. Go and have a look at it. What a great business. I would stop becoming a vegetarian just to use Crowd Carnivore, but I'm already a carnivore, so I don't have to. Hey, top 3 attention grabbers, thanks to Net Registry and the good guys at Design Crowd. Number 1, I love how Dan and Zach acted on the Crowd Carnivore idea when it appeared, when it occurred to them whilst they were having a chat. Now, acknowledge when ideas feel right is my tip. And most importantly, act on them. Take action, because that's where the action is. Be careful not to let your head kick in and start coming up with all these reasons why you shouldn't act on the excitement. Remember that word, excitement, that you're feeling. In the late Dr. Wayne Dyer's book, Living an Inspired Life, he says this, and I quote, "Anything that's causing excitement within us is evidence of a spiritual message that's saying, you can do this. Yeah, you can. If we react to this message with anything other than, you're correct, I can do this, then we've selected the vibration of resistance and ignored the vibration of excitement that spoke to us in the first place." Close quote. I love that. If something is making you excited, that's the universe tapping you on the shoulder and saying, hey, this is right. Attention grabber number 2. Get out and meet the people. I love how Dan and Zach are getting out and meeting all the farmers that want to come on board. I asked a business owner the other day what he was up to for the rest of the week, and he told me how he was spending the next 2 days hugging babies. His way of saying he was getting out to meet his clients. When was the last time you actively stepped out of your shop or got out of your office and started to say good day and meet your clients and past clients and see how they're going? Attention grabber number 3, thanks to Net Registry and Design Crowd. Don't underestimate the potential leverage of getting an article in your local newspaper. It can and often does lead to other media opportunities. You don't believe me? Then check out episode 273 with Sammy Lamb from Media Maneuvers, where she explains how to get earned media. It's not that hard. The media are always looking to fill up the seconds and the column centimetres. And if you've got a story to tell, you may just have that next article for your local newspaper. Hey, what grabbed your attention? Head over to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com/312 and let me know. Now, we have heard from Dan and his story over at Crowd Carnivore, and I briefly mentioned a wonderful quote from Dr. Wayne Dyer from his book, Living an Inspired Life. Now, I took that book away with me recently to a 10-day health retreat that I had. I read it from front to back in its entirety, and the highlighter pen, I got to tell you, it got a working over. I was highlighting quote after quote after quote. You know, every now and then you find a book that does kind of make you look at things differently. Well, this is one that did it for me. Here's another quote from it. He says, quote, "We must learn to make a conscious choice to say no to anything that takes us away from living an inspired life." End quote. You know, we've talked about this before, but if you've got some marketing dreams, some marketing plans, some plans to, build that beautiful business of yours, then you got to start saying no, because what you say no to determines what you say yes to, right? So maybe you got to start saying no to Game of Thrones or to, that game of squash or whatever it is. Stay fit, but sometimes we just got to find the time to take the business to the next level. Hope you enjoyed that quote from Dr. Dyer. So I got this wonderful listener feedback from Andrew at kinkcraft.co. Now, don't let the word craft fool you or lead you into thinking that Kinkcraft is some kind of scrapbooking business, because it ain't. A quick visit to Andrew's website suggests we purchase some nipple sticks or maybe a mini flogger, or you get the idea. Yeah, it's one of those websites. It's valid. It's a real website. It's a real business. And he's got some real feedback, which I think you'll find very, very motivational. He says, "G'day, Timbo." G'day, Andrew. "I have been listening to you since Christmas 2013. Geez, that's specific. He says, "I know it was then because it was listening to you that I realised that I didn't want to work for others anymore. I needed to escape." He's a cubicle escapee. I love those type. "With all the gold dripping from the ceiling, it was hard not to get covered." Good on you, Andrew. You are taking action. You wanted to know if anyone was putting your ideas into action. Well, I am, even if I have put an adult slant on it. It certainly has put an adult slant on it. I'm nailing helpful content. I have managed to pull together some amazing writers who are covering all manner of topics. Well, great learning there, by the way, Andrew, because having writers on your virtual marketing team is a big tick. Having designers like you can get from Design Crowd is a good thing, but I'd also encourage all businesses to have a writer on their team. It's getting me to talk to people I never thought that I could, and it's making a huge difference. He goes on to say, activity marketing is also getting us into events for either free or at a huge discount. For example, we are going to a huge show in Canada at the end of the year for nothing. Where most people have the odd person looking at their stand, we have 45-minute queues and are then even raising money for charity. 45-minute queues. Well, you are selling nipple sticks and mini floggers, so I guess there's a big demand for that in the Great North. Hey, he goes on to say, I've thought about writing to you a few times, but you asked, and I thought if you knew how people were listening to your show and taking action, then you might get a kick out of it. Keep up the amazing work. Andrew from Kink Craft. Hey, Andrew, love your work, mate, and I encourage you to keep taking action because I tell you what, champ, that is where the magic lies. Hey, listeners, if you want to get mentioned on the show like Andrew, you don't have to have a kinky business. You can just you could be a plumber or a vet. It doesn't matter. Go to iTunes and leave a review under Small Business Big Marketing. Leave your marketing question as well and your website, and I would be more than happy to mention it and read it out on the show. Next thing, you'll be driving along and you'll hear your name on the show. Happy days.
My name's Terry Bergen. I run SpeakMark. Through the course of my business, working with speakers and many, many small businesses we have as clients, I came across Tim Reid's book, The Boomerang Effect. Thank you very much, Tim. I've enjoyed this book immensely. It has really helped us with our own business. Now, even though we thought we knew everything, or hashtag everything, we just got a lot out of the book. There's a lot of wisdom in here, a lot of great small business marketing tips. In fact, for all business marketing, there is something in this book for everybody. And I'd just like to say, if anyone is listening to this and you are a small business, do yourself a favour and get in touch with Tim Reid. And you look, I can't speak highly enough of this book and the work Tim Reid does. So thank you very much, Tim, and we'll continue applying the wisdom in this book to our business. Thanks, mate.
Righto, team, we're almost at the end. Plenty of marketing gold coming your way in the weeks ahead. Next episode, we have a chat with veteran film star and TV producer Nigel Godfrey, who owns, get this, the licence to Miss Universe in New Zealand. His story about how to turn a toxic brand around is nothing short of inspiring. I think you're going to enjoy it. Plus, I will be reporting from the Philippines in a few weeks' time as I head off with some listeners on the second Small Business Big Marketing Outsourcing Tour. There's still a couple of seats left, so if you're keen, head over to smallbusinessbigmarketing.com/freedom and I tell you all about it. Be sure to use Design Crowd to get pretty much anything designed. A typical project receives 60 to 100 plus designs from designers around the world. You can grab a VIP listener discount over at designcrowd.com/Timbo. And go ahead and use Net Registry if you need anything sorted with your online marketing, really. Social media managed. Maybe you just need to register a domain name. They've got some great deals for you, the listener, over at netregistry.com.au/Timbo. Hey, big thanks to my new producer, Jay Mueller from badproducerproductions.com for pulling this episode together. There's some pretty exciting developments in the pipeline, team, so stay tuned for them. I also want to say a big thank you to Daryl Delirious Misson for all the work he's done on making this show what it is over the last 12 months or so. Daz, you're an absolute pro, and I love you like a brother. And to Lockie Doley for laying down the tunes that helped this show rock. Check him out over at lockiedoley.com. If you need a speaker, timreid.com.au. And if you want to surround yourself with other motivated business owners, then join the Small Business Big Marketing Club over at crankmymarketing.com. Membership includes forum access and invitations to some pretty damn good training webinars. 30-day money back, no questions asked guarantee, no risk, team. Until next week, I am Timbo Reid, always have been, always will be. Thanks for listening to the Small Business Big Marketing Show. May your marketing be the best marketing. Bye for now.